people go into like a like a consumption over action type methodology.
Yep.
So I've listened to that pod. Oh yeah, great. Like, what'd you learn from it? What'd you do after it? Like, or our mates who, will get, I'm going to read a book a month, or I'm going to read 100 books this year.
Yeah.
Okay, like maybe stick to one and read it 12 times, or just finish it.
Yeah. Luke, thanks for coming in, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah. Obviously, bit of a random one. I sort of had David from Rapid QS on the other week. He mentioned, I'd heard your podcast about, so I was like, bugger it, I'll give him a bell.
Yeah, nice.
And you were gracious enough to accept, so thank you.
How many times did he swear on the pod? I'll see if I can go under that.
Well, I actually had my mother call me from the UK a couple of weeks ago, and she's like, bit of feedback. Pretty good so far, but you do swear a lot.
You do?
Yeah,
okay,
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was like, can you reel it in a bit? So
yeah. Cheers, Mum.
Yeah.
Right, if she's watching, we'll try our best.
Yeah, I'll try my best. It's not going to work, but never mind. So, do you just want to introduce yourself, mate, and just give it, I know you've done this many a time, but just give us a brief, what's your past? Where did you start? How did you get to where you're doing now?
I'll keep it brief and I'll go to what I do now and then sort of work backwards, but basically have my own accounting practice with my business partner, Phil, and we have about 125 clients across the country, all SMEs, aspirational, growing, stay away from sort of the property side of things and just really focus on helping business owners grow their business. We're really passionate about that and helping grow a better economy and just to see them do better for the risks that they take out there. So we're 8 years into that now. And then alongside that, I run Keep the Change, which is a financial literacy platform, everyday people to learn about, understanding money, how to get ahead, what they can be thinking about, interviews with people around investing, paying down debt, where to go when you're stuck, all that stuff to try and, bridge that gap between what people need to know and what they don't know, basically. So the idea is that then the business owners that we work with get better employees. We take people that are trapped in jobs that they don't really want to be doing, and we teach them how to be entrepreneurial, and then one day they might be a next advisory client, or maybe they're not, but they are a perfect client for somebody else in the accounting industry, and we do our bit to grow the economy. So those two things run alongside each other, and then prior to that, we had a business called School Rebates, which was a way for parents to claim back their school donations, and that was my first sort of foray into business after quitting my accounting job, and that was where we learnt a lot of lessons that we've then been able to build on and also reteach some of the business owners that we now work with and really get my hands dirty and realize how hard business is compared to what I thought it was from the outside of being an accountant and having a cushy salary and getting to look under the hood of some of these businesses and think, I could do that.
Yeah.
But really I had to, I was entrepreneurial my whole life and eventually wanted to get out there and have a crack for myself. Yeah. And so, I quit my accounting job probably a decade ago now. And as I say, jumped off of the building and knew that I had the parachute on, just didn't know whether it would open. And hopefully I could get that thing to open before I hit the ground.
Yeah, it sounds about right, mate.
Yeah.
So just with Next Advisory to start with, are you changing the game as an accountant there, or are there other chartered accountants out there who offer business advice and planning and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, ego-wise, we'd like to say we are.
Yeah.
But we're a small player in a pretty big space. Like I was walking here and I actually used this to think more abundantly. I was thinking, man, none of these businesses on the street are clients.
Yeah.
Like I'm playing too small. What's going on? How do they not know we exist?
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm out there doing heaps of stuff and I'm like, man, I've never heard of them. They've never heard of me. So the world is very abundant and the SME world is. So, 125 clients out of, say, maybe there's 300,000 businesses we could take as clients. So it's very, very small, but we can have a good life and help a lot of people. But interestingly, what we've done along that journey is provide a lot of content out there. And it was built on the sort of thesis that if you add enough value, eventually those clients will convert eventually. So if we have 125, but our total addressable audience that we reach each week might be 100,000 people. So there's a lot of people that aren't paying us $1, but they're learning things, and then they can improve their business and their life. So where I can hand on heart say, this is side, isn't it? That we are leading the game is that no one's doing more or done more for SMEs in New Zealand. Now, I believe that. There might be someone come out of the woodwork and go, hey, Dickie, look at this. We've done this.
Yeah.
But we've done content for 5 years, podcasts for 5 years. There's 1,000 podcasts for people to rip through, and it's all free. And there's lessons from what we're doing with clients, mistakes to avoid, how to understand provisional tax, all that stuff. So there's a business degree in those podcasts. You just have to put up with some shit chat along the way from Phil and myself.
Oh, mate, you're preaching to the choir there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think in that space we're number one. People are now starting to kind of do some of the things that we're doing, but there are accounting firms that have smarter people, bigger budgets, bigger supercomputers, transfer pricing experts, etc., specialists and whatnot, and more experience and been in the game longer, that would hear that and go, mate, you know, you don't even know about us. We're kicking ass over here. And you know, everybody's rowing their own boat and we're just doing our bit.
It's certainly, like just from my personal perspective, it certainly seems like you're leading the charge on accessibility. Like, you know, to sum it up, you seem to be the guy to come to for financial literacy in New Zealand, and particularly on my content and social media and stuff, you're kind of everywhere, which is cool to see.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So, firstly, obviously, you're building personal brand and people buy from people, right? So I get it. But, you know, 5 years ago, you know, podcasts were well established, but that was pretty early days to set up a podcast for like an accountancy business or like what people class as like, that isn't a sexy industry, you know, same in our game. What sort of triggered that? What was the catalyst?
Well, I did my first podcast in 2017.
Okay.
And that was in the horse racing space and just having some fun with some mates. And a mate had come back from the UK and he's like, let's sit down and have a couple of beers and talk about who we think is going to win. And so that's kind of another chapter of my life as such as well. But when we got into doing Next Advisory, I was always kind of looking at like where's people's attention, and we were learning that through school rebates, because we were trying to get in front of parents and say, hey, did you know you could claim your school donations back, and having good success with Facebook and stuff. And I thought we'd just go out there and go live on Facebook, you know, 8 years ago, and bang, you know, 100,000 people would see you and be like, oh shit, do you want to be?
We made it.
Yeah. Can you be our accountant? You know, we're like, go on. But that's not really how it works. And you've got to add value, and you've got to keep showing up. And even when you quit your job and go out there and you go like to your mates, hey, I'm doing this now. Everyone's like, oh, good on you, man. Like, epic. Good luck with that, eh? So do you need me to be your Sparky? Oh, no. I don't.
And that's
what
the
do you
end
mean?
of it, eh?
Yeah. So, you know, we were doing content from day one. But during lockdown, I started writing Money Mail, which is now coming up 5 years.
So that's your blog, eh?
Yeah. Every Friday. And so the idea is that people could sign up, get hit in their inbox with a bit of a lesson about money, the economy, finance, personal budgeting, etc. And it's a reminder as well of like, what have you done about your money this week?
Yeah.
And I was a year into that, and I'd already been doing podcasting. So that was 2020. And I'd already been and seen the podcast space and knew what it can do. And I'm like, man, I need to suck it up, and I need to go back and record a year of these money mails that I was writing.
Because they're already there for you, right? Yeah.
So I had to sit down and basically like I was batching them, do 5 at a time. Every now and then I might do 8 if I'm feeling good. I might get through 2. Yeah. And so people listen to year 1, and now they listen to year 5, and they're like, man, that's a different person. And I've become a different person in that. But part of it is I'm like, shit, I got 52 of these that I need to catch up on. and that's a grind.
Hours on the mic.
Yeah. And so you, and you know no one's listening. You know, you're building from scratch, like, and then you've got to distribute it and say like, hey, there's a podcast here. Well, why do I want to listen to this dickhead? You know, so then you got to build it, and to record something and know like actually no one may like listen to this, but I knew the direction that content was going, and I'd studied it long enough to know, okay, that's probably the thing. And I think it's really blowing up at the moment, and even like last year as well. But I started interviewing people and stuff like that, and just kind of going wider with the podcast. And then I managed to pick up Generate KiwiSaver scheme as a sponsor, which has been very lucky. So, you know, I've basically taken that sponsorship and then put it into reaching more people, building out a studio, doing these things, because the goal is that if we can help 100,000 Kiwis improve their financial literacy, then I help 100,000, they might help 100,000. Suddenly we're at 2, then we're at 4, then we're at 8, you know, we're at 1.6 million, and holy shit, you know, like the snowball's pretty big.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Yeah, so that takes effort, energy, and resource.
Yeah, because it's obviously we're very early days, and hopefully we can sort of expose you to a little part of our audience that'll be interested. But you know, as I think you've said in the past, it's certainly consistency with the podcasting, because you're just having conversations. It's not scripted. You're not just going to get like banger moments every episode where everyone's pissing the pants and falling off the chair. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's a body of work at the end of the day that hopefully has some value, you know? Yeah, and interestingly, like I posted something yesterday that popped off, and it's basically how many days there are off a year. And so if you go through sick days, annual leave, 11 public holidays, 1 regional holiday, 104 weekends,
That's 40% of a year that we're at annual leave, sick leave, etc. And I wrote about that and did a money mail on that in 2022.
Yeah.
But you've actually got to pull that old content out and basically repurpose it because you've got to meet like some people aren't ready for that, and they're not even listening.
Or
they're
not at that stage yet in their journey sort of thing.
And through this last few years, I've had people saying like, this podcast really spoke to me. And I'm like, and they're like, you should talk about that again. I'm like, man, I've talked about that 86 times. What are you talking about? But they're not ready yet. And I think that's what we have to understand is that the danger of so many podcasts coming out is people go into like a consumption over action type methodology. Yep. So I've listened to that pod. Oh yeah, great. Like, what'd you learn from it? What'd you do after it? Like, or our mates who, will get, I'm going to read a book a month, or I'm going to read 100 books this year. Yeah. Okay, like maybe stick to one and read it 12 times, or just finish it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like, you meet old Billy down the boozer or whatever, and he's telling you everything you need to know about investing. And you're like, oh, how much have you got invested? What's your portfolio? And like, oh, fuck all, mate, it's too risky.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. Or they're telling you how risky it is and you shouldn't be doing that. And it's like, mate, I don't want your life, therefore I don't want your advice.
Yeah, you're a fucking loser.
Oh, jeez. Mum's not going to be happy with that one.
Sorry, Mum. So let's get this one out of the way because you're probably sick of this question. But one of the biggest things we come across, and it's a cliche, and you will have provisional tax.
Yeah.
You're the expert. Give me the lowdown. What is it? Why is it? And how much should we be expecting? What are we doing about it?
Nice. I'll take people on a journey just so they've got full context and understand there'll be people who are new to business. There'll be people who have never paid provisional tax. There'll be people who are looking to get into business, and then there'll be business owners that have paid it for years going, I don't need a lesson in this, mate. But there's some things here that I think will help make everybody understand it in sort of better language. So let's say we're employed, we're not paying provisional tax because we pay tax as we go based on our salary. Now, when we go out into business, the IRD don't know how much money you're making until you file a tax return. So you might start your business in April, and then the following year, you'll calculate your tax. So the financial year will end at 31 March the following year, and then after that, your accounts will be done. So the IRD still don't know in that period how profitable you are. Now, let's say that you do your accounts in April and you finalize them with the IRD. The IRD are going to say, oh, you made $100,000. Okay, you should have paid, let's say, $30,000 of tax on that. Okay, we need you to pay that in April the following year as what's called terminal tax. Now they have some data on us and they say, well, you know what, like we're not going to run the risk that we're just going to give you, a year to pay that tax because they don't even know if you're going to pay your April tax bill and you've got till April to catch up. So they say, well, actually now we want you to pay provisional tax. We want you to pay us in August on the 28th, 15th of January when you're at the beach or coming back and people aren't paying you and it's the hardest time to do business in New Zealand. Yeah. And then the 7th of May. So they're going to say, well, you made $100,000 of profit, therefore $30,000 of tax. We think you're going to do the same. So they have a standard methodology, and it's basically the profit plus another 5%. So then they say, righto, we want you to pay us $31,500 over 3 installments. So loosely sort of $11,000, let's just say, right? So you've got to come up with 11, 11, 11. Now fast forward to April the next year, you've still got to clear that $30,000 from the year before, but you've been paying tax provisionally along the way so that now when your accounts get done, we look at it and we go, oh, actually, you had $100,000 profit again. Great, your tax was $30,000. You've paid enough provisional tax. You're going to get a slight refund because you've made those payments. Yeah. Now, that's where people get stuck when they first get started because I've given you a good example of getting your accounts done in April. You might not get your accounts done until August, September, October. All of a sudden, then it's like, okay, you've got till April to pay that terminal tax.
Yeah, you've not got that full 12-month period.
Yeah. And you've missed your payment in August because your accounts have been done after that. You've got January coming up. You're like, oh shit, but I already brought a boat with my tax money and I'm going on the bloody sea for the summer. What do you mean? We had a massive Christmas party planned. And then you're into scarcity mode. You're into, holy shit, how could this happen? It's my accountant's fault. We're below the line, blame, excuse, deny. But you just haven't had the education. And arguably part of that is the accountant not educating you, but you pick a cheap accountant, just like picking a cheap tradie, you get what you paid for. So if you're not educating yourself with podcasts and things, you're going to struggle to learn. Now, 2 tidbits to remember as well is that the key here is provisional tax is always based on the year before, but every financial year is different to the year before. So if you're having a different year to the year before, that should be your signal to put your hand up and say to your accountant, hey, something's not right here. I'm not as profitable or I'm way more profitable. What can I do about tax? Because at each of those installments, there are options. You might pay it, you might delay it, you might not need to pay it at all. So as an example, a couple of our clients haven't been as profitable in this 2025 financial year, which has just finished.
Yep.
And so they've paid enough tax at August and at January. So at May, I'm saying to them, don't worry about making a payment because I know how profitable you are. The IRD don't. They think that you're going to be as profitable as the year before plus another 5%.
Yeah.
So if I don't get in there, look at the data and go, actually don't make that payment, they're going to log into their MyIR and it's going to say, you owe us money, pay us on the 7th of May, pay us. And they go, shit, well, we don't even have the cash to. They're worried. But they make the payment because the ID tells them to. Then the accounts get done. Oh, you didn't even need to pay that. Now you have that tax money refunded. Yeah. So, there are, and now there are ways that you can actually finance the tax as well. So you might go, well, actually, I've got this tax to pay, but I don't have the money right now, but I will in 2 months' time. Can I finance it through a tax intermediary? And then in 2 months' time, you collect money from Barry, who was, finishing his build and going, no, I'm not paying you till that's finished and whatnot. So then you go to the tax intermediary. They buy the tax, well, they credit the tax as if you did pay on the due date, and they charge you an interest component from the due date to the date that you paid them. Yep. So you can finance anything in this country now, including your tax
bill.
Yeah. So hopefully that gives people enough understanding to go, you don't need to understand it to the level of an accountant, but you need some prompts to go, I've heard that once before. I'll put my hand up and I'll ask about it.
Yeah, totally. And it can, potentially there's some not so proactive accountants out there that are letting people fall into this trap a little bit. But because everybody talks about provisional tax like that, the IRD are out to fucking get me, da-da-da-da-da. But really, they're giving you a payment plan and an early heads up for what you're going to owe, but it feels like a double up because you got one after another.
And ideally, in business, you've got an advantage because in employment, you don't even see your tax. It gets taken from you before you get paid. So you get the net amount. Now, in business, they trust us to hold on to it and then pass it on. So the reason you want to understand provisional tax is actually it does become a lever. So as an example, you might have a mortgage advisor client who's growing quickly, and they become really profitable, but they want to buy a small book of 100 clients who have mortgages, and the person who manages them is quitting and wants to get out of the market, so they sell their book. And you could use your tax money to buy that book and then go, right, that's my finance angle. I just won't pay my tax and I'll pay it back in 3 months' time or 4 months. So it's actually a lever that you can use if you understand it, but you only want to play that game once you understand it. And most people don't understand it well enough to start with to then start playing with their tax as a... And
you'll get yourself in trouble later, but it does give you that fluidity for cash flow, basically.
Exactly, yeah,
totally. While we're on the tax subject, what's the worst one you've ever seen, the worst tax blunder?
I'm dealing with one at the moment, and they won't mind me mentioning this, but they came to me, and what happened was their accountant was filing their company tax return for them, and the individual was going in and just filling out the box themselves on the IRD site. And so in their mind, they were like, oh, okay, I'm doing this accurately. This is how I do it. Done. They thought their responsibility for themselves individually, and they thought the accountants deal with the company. But the company profits just get pushed to the individual. So all of these were wrong. And so eventually they get a knock on the door like, hey, you need to basically make sure these are all accurate. And they weren't. And that no real fault of their own, but it just hadn't really been picked up on. And I've only seen this once in actually a couple of times actually, but once recently. So we had to go back through and assess all these tax returns and then bang, refile them all and here's how accurately to do it. And then there's 6 figures of tax to pay. And you gotta, you gotta come up with that. And
Stinky.
So, and that can be one of those moments where your life is just, you think everything is sweet. And that's why it's very important to get good advice along the way so that you're not sort of being misled by a big accounting beast that you're just another number and they're not really looking at exactly how you're doing things. You need to pay for people to pay attention to what you're doing as well so you're getting good advice.
Absolutely. I actually experienced that. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. So I sold my company last April.
Yeah.
Got bought out by my business partner, da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, I knew I had this tax bill to pay April this year, just gone. So I paid it, and then it was probably about 4 weeks later. I was like, I'll just log into my IRD. Da-da-da. You still owe us 30 grand or whatever. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Da-da-da. Ring the accountant, and she was like, oh, do you still want me to do your accounts? And I was like personal ones. And I was like, yes, please.
Yeah.
She was like, they just think you still owe provisional tax to the business. I was like,
Phew. Yeah, because the IRD, again, like they don't have your data right. So they think, well, you're in business last year or you had this profit, therefore your provisional was this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and they don't know. Like you know as a business owner and the accountant knows, but unless you tell the IRD that story, and that's normally filing a tax return, it just kicks you notifications based on what you were doing the year before.
Yeah. So all interesting for me because I didn't look after our finances as such with the business.
Yeah.
So for me, I was just totally reliant on what the accountant told me.
Yeah.
And, so it's just interesting having the yarn because a lot of the time as well, when you do own a business, I think these are questions that people don't want to be seen to ask.
Yes.
And I guess that's the value that you bring to the table in a situation like this where I can almost ask the questions that people don't want to ask.
Yeah, but it'd be kind of like me, having an issue and you guys are like a Sparky coming around to fix it, right? And me, just pretending I know like what you're talking about. I'll be like, mate, I just put my hands up. I do not know. Look at these hands, they are not fucking Sparky hands. So you need people in your life that do know these things that you can trust and lean on them. Otherwise, I think we lean on this kind of old school New Zealand number 8 why mentality. I've got to have a bit of an ego, how I know this shit. Like, if you don't know, just say you don't know. It's good. Like, you'd rather be a student where you can learn rather than think you know how it works and then have to be kind of pretending like you understand it. Just say to your accountant, like, mate, stop, give me an example. I don't understand. Start again, help me understand. I want to understand this. And that's their role, But if they're charging you for every 6 minutes that you're on the phone to them, then you probably don't want to do that.
Yeah, probably make you a bit reluctant.
But get a podcast in your ears, like find the information on YouTube and slowly study it. The danger too for New Zealand business owners is there's so much content from the UK, US, and so people go and consume that, and their tax rules are completely different. Yeah. So then, I'll get. It's funny that sometimes it's the businesses that are doing the least profitable, and they've got the questions about a holding company, and we're going to do this and transfer this to there, and I'm like, what are you talking about, bro? Get out there and make some money.
Yeah, you've got no money to do that, pal.
Yeah, don't worry about that shit. And like, what are you talking about? Oh, I heard, this guy was doing. I'm like, it's in America. It's completely different.
Yeah, totally. Because you see heaps of it on socials about like these hacks for like inheritance tax, and it's all US, and there's all these clauses, and people are like, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, pal.
Yeah, you should study some content about how to increase your prices, understand your margin, and get cash in the door.
Do some sales because you've got no work.
Yeah. Do some work on yourself as well. Like that's I think what people forget is that you bring yourself into your business and you run it like you run your life. And if you've got untidy shit going on in your life, you're probably going to do that in your business. Your customers are going to see it, your clients are going to see it, your suppliers, and you're just going to think that's normal. But they're going to watch it, like they're going to spot it. And I see this all the time because we deal with so many business owners. It's really interesting going through the pandemic where I'd have 2 clients in the same industry. One's like, man, can't keep up. We've started doing this. We're getting inquiry about this. So we're pushing this a bit. We started marketing this. And now we put it in. It's just like flying. And then the other is like, nah, industry's fucked. Like, there's no work out there. Yeah. No, like, well, we can't do that. Oh, we tried that.
Yeah.
No, have you tried this? Well, we sent it one thing and they didn't get back to it. Like, it's done. What are we going to do?
I see that all day, every day. You know, same area, same type of work they do. One business is flying there. And they're like, the phone stopped ringing. Yeah. I'm like, is that it? Is that?
Yeah.
So have you rang anybody yourself? Like, you know what I mean? You should be ringing like 100 people a day and getting told to do one. And, you just keep going and you got to cast the net wide and hunt it down. Yeah.
Something I often say when I speak to business owners as a group is like, who's got goals? And like a lot of people will kind of go, oh, I'm a Kiwi, I don't want to put my hand up. But like they'll keep their hand down, maybe. But if I go, who wants to make more money? Well, okay, most people, unless they're like, fuck, I don't want, to be embarrassed by the fact I do want some more cash, but who doesn't, right? But so and then goals like I keep the hand down. Who's got a plan? Oh, probably 5-10% of a room. Lucky if you get 10%. And then I'll say, okay, how many of you over the last 7 days have put an offer out to the market? And they're almost like, what do you mean? Like, how many of you propositioned potential clients to pay you money by you solving them a problem?
Yeah.
Like, no one. What about over the last 30 days? Like, oh, okay, a few hands. And it's probably about the 10% mark again. Yeah. And I'm like, isn't it funny how we want more money, we have goals, we kind of know what they are, but we actually, if we're honest, haven't done anything. And, the good thing in construction is that I'll say to builders, like, do you honestly think that a guy who wants a $3 million house built is going to turn up on site and be like, hey, mate, I like what you're doing there. Do you reckon you could come and meet with me and my wife and build a house for us? Yeah. I'm like, you need to fucking go to them. Yeah. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. That framing's top notch, mate. It's turning me on.
and even just things like, okay, if you're gonna have a major project done on a house, You need to be speaking to the husband and the wife, the two decision makers, not just like, okay, put all the energy into this person.
Yeah.
And I even do this, I'll talk to a business owner and I'll say, I need to speak to my wife. I know half the time I'm like, fuck, I've lost the sale. I should have had them on the call, because how are they going to explain in 3 minutes, like, oh, this guy wants me to spend $7,000 or 23 grand over a year and he's going to help me change my business.
Well, certainly not going to do it as well as you do it.
Yeah.
She's doing it all day, every day.
She's like, who is this dude? And what? We've never spent $7,000 in our life. Why are you going to get what? No, that's expensive.
Yeah.
And so then bang, they stay stuck. And like, it's the same for all of us where you can't just expect, if you want people to come to you, you've got to be pushing out into the marketplace hard and attracting them and build a magnet and doing a lot of stuff. But, it's interesting for me how tough it's been economically, how little resilience or push there has been for some business owners to go, you know what, like I'm going to get out there and I'm going to either improve myself to then show up in my business differently or do some things that I haven't needed to. And unfortunately, and I think in your guys' space, or more so in like building and construction and chippies and stuff, when you've got a really frothy economy, you don't have to do any of that stuff.
Yep.
It just comes to you. You don't even answer the phone. Oh, who's that? I can't be bothered. I've got enough work already.
Yeah.
And then next thing, you turn into the guy on social media that's like, construction's cooked, man. The country's fucked. I won't move to Australia. Okay, like, yes, I get it, but like,
Megatron.
Look. Yeah. You've done nothing on your social media. It's like, okay, then how's David from Rapid QS doing so well?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? So I think we've got to break a bit of that thinking for some people. And often that comes back to how big the goals are as well. And if your goals are big, then you're going to have to do things that you don't normally have to do. Yep. If you don't want to lose as many leads, well, then you got to get better at converting them. And we've got clients who have franchises, and so they'll have the same convos as you. It's like, okay, well, they can see that everyone's converting at an average of 28%, but you're converting at 13%. But the 13% person is like, oh, these leads are shit.
Yeah.
Okay. And I used to do the same thing. How hard are you
working them?
Yeah, I used to do the same thing. I used to we got into accounting. You learn nothing about selling, and I'm like, man, sales is really hard. Yeah. And then I one day realized it's like, why do I keep telling myself that? Like, is that going to help me build $1 million accounting practice? Yeah. No. Like, if I wake up every day and go like, I get on the phone, like, here's an epic prospect. I've worked hard to get them on the phone. Fuck, this is going to be hard. Hey, how's it going? I'm going to butcher it. So
well, you can't be scared of it. You've got to be excited about it, right?
Yeah.
But because particularly in our game, it's changing because obviously traditionally you've got Sparkies and they're either the local Sparky. Margaret rings up, can you change my light bulb? Yeah, fuck off, Margaret. Or you're working for like builders and construction companies where you're like, these are my clients. They just feed me work. But I think there's 5,000 electrical companies in Auckland now.
Wow.
So the competition is unreal. So I'm still a massive believer in sales as relationships. Word of mouth or just referrals in general are the easiest sales you're ever going to get. But if you want to make an impact, you've got to use every tool available to you, and whether that's cold calling, having a social media presence, putting out content, letting people know who the hell you are, seeing if you can go on a podcast as a Sparky and talk about your story.
Yeah.
It's just exposure and networking, that opens the doors for you.
You just do something. I had the same week I had the guy saying, oh, the construction industry's cooked and the country's fucked. I got a guy saying like, oh, I posted into my local community Facebook group offering my services and I've got work for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
I'm like, which of those do you want to be, man? Yeah. Like, what do you want to wake up and be that guy, or do you want to wake up and be this guy? I know who I'd rather be.
Well, it's even like the, the business groups where they go and meet, like everyone does a different trade or service and they go and have coffee or whatever. And they go, I kind of got heaps of leads from it. They're all just dry lunch buggers who I didn't want to talk to. So I stopped going, but I'm quiet now. Like turn it around a bit. Just to sort of change tact a little bit. So this is, I've not touched that.
No, I'm good. I'm good. Right. I don't need to keep drinking water.
So not all businesses, but something I see very common as well with small businesses, again, particularly our sort of listenership base, whether they're doing really well or whatever, they don't know what to do with that money. And they go and buy the boat, go buy the truck, da-da-da-da-da. Now, the way I always saw it is you set up a business when you start doing well and you're earning that net profit after you've paid yourself, da-da-da-da-da, looking at what you can do with that money. So for me, are we going to invest it in something? Are we going to buy more plant or assets? Should we buy a commercial building and lease it instead of us being in it? How would you be approaching that as a business owner?
Yeah, awesome. Obviously, everybody's got their own individual goals, right? And that's probably point one. People don't think about that shit. So then they just do what they get marketed to. Ranger, boat, jet ski, flash of tools, or limit themselves. I make 120K a year. That's a good income. I used to make 80. Therefore, I'll stay there.
Yeah.
And you got to challenge yourself to have some conversations with your partner or even yourself and be like, where do I want to be longer term? What do I actually value? Why do I work this hard? What's going to push me when Barry is breaking my balls about how we're not on site at the right time, or show me the breakdown of this invoice? What's going to give you enough energy to be like, I need to break through this because this is what I'm working towards? And I honestly think, from what I see, and people spend tens of thousands of dollars working with us. I did a session yesterday for 4.5 hours. I'm like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Oh, freedom, flexibility, all these buzzwords. I'm like, mate, why?
Work-life balance.
Yeah, all that stuff. I'm like, why? I'm like, you could sell everything now and you're done. You've already got all of that. So what are you talking about? Like, why is this important? And you've got to sort of figure out who you are. And you might be an entrepreneur and you just like building shit. There's no reason for me to do a lot of the stuff that I do financially, but I like building stuff.
It's a game.
Yeah.
It's
and you
fun.
start realizing, realizing that might be how you're wired, and you go, okay, I just want to keep building. And maybe you're building towards an exit, or you're building towards some sort of impact or whatnot. Or you might just be like, I want to, and I shouldn't say just, but what I mean by that is you want to replace your income and then a little bit more to build a buffer, and that's enough. And there's nothing there's no right or wrong. But you sort of have to understand where you sit in that. And, I did a workshop last week with a dude and he's got 40 staff. He wants 400 and he thinks 40 is a waste of time. The faster I get to 400. I'm like, dude, 97% of businesses in New Zealand have less than 20 staff.
Yeah.
What's going on in your head?
Well, there's two types. You're either working towards an end because what you really want is to sit on your ass but have plenty of money, or you're addicted to the game, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's only two, I reckon.
And the beauty of my role, mate, is that I get to, through Keep the Change and Next Advisory, I get to speak to all these people that are at these different stages. Yeah. So, I talk to the 35-year-old woman that builds the business, starts at 16, builds to 35, or sort of 30-ish, sells, has all the cash, flash house, tools and shit, and it's like, oh, all my friends are broke. I got no one to hang out with.
Yeah, what do I do
This is boring.
Now?
Yeah. And then bang, gets back into business. Okay, I actually like this, but I'm going to be specific about how I do it. And I think what happens for a lot of people is that they go, right, especially in trades, it's like, okay, I got myself going, got the van going, on top of my taxes, going to hire someone. And that either then leads to hire 2, 3, 4, and that's cool, but we'll come back to that. Or they go, shit, I hired someone and I'm making less money than what I did. And then it's like, cool, we need to fix the education. What's happening with margin? What didn't you understand? There's 40% of their time that they're not going to be working.
You're an overhead potentially.
All that stuff, more admin, weren't pricing shit right, just took jobs for job's sake. But these people can do the same thing, because what they do is they go 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you stop them and you go, how many? How many are you getting?
Yeah.
I don't know, because you don't have any goals.
Yeah.
You're just going, well, we took on someone, so then I thought I better get some more work. So then we get another person once we get busier, because then they introduce us to these people.
Yeah.
And then they said, oh, can you do this? And we had no intention of doing that, but then we said yes, because we thought we're better, because we're going to get that person. I want to cover their wages. That leads to that hire, more work. All of a sudden, you're like, do you want to be doing this work? No, I don't. I fucking hate this business.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, really? So what happens is people grow for the growth's sake without stopping and being deliberate around what is it that I actually want. And that is a really, really hard question, because most people in life don't do the deep thinking. So they don't stop to think, okay, why do I want this money? What do I want to do with it? What is my plan? And then they don't figure out what sort of person they are. Maybe they do like the game and playing. But you go on that journey and have some fun with it. But you want to be asked some of those challenging questions so that you can aim for it. So I don't know if that really answers the question, but I think it's more philosophical than just sort of, oh, right, stack some cash and put it into this.
How we're going to do. No.
You know what I mean?
Because every business that sort of approaches ours and is interested in finding out about being a member of ours, for example, I go through it all with them, and then I'm like, what are your goals? What are you trying to achieve with this business, right? And, I get a few work-life balance, I want to have a family business, fine. Then we can, at least they've got our goal and we can work back from that and see what it looks like. And now and again, I get the guys like, I want to take over the world. And I'm like, right, we're rocking and rolling. We're working together, you know what I mean?
And I'll answer it in a different way, just for some people who may think like that. Businesses the best wealth builder in the country, I believe. People say that's wrong, it's property. That's wealth storage.
Not anymore.
Yeah, and things have changed. But so if you believe it's property, great. Go to the rich list, run off the top 20. Tell me how many of those people have residential properties. It ain't residential property and buying up a few rentals that have got the wealth, right? So that's like stage one of stacking some wealth, put it into property, the money loses its value, your property hedges against that, and then you feel wealthy on paper. You can borrow against it, you can use it like an ATM. Cool. Yep. But you could take an hour to unpack that. But business, if you go, right, bring in a person, bring in the right work. Okay, great. Maintain our margins. Right, let's build systems. Okay, we've got email platform going out. Right, we're starting to do some marketing. Add another person. Have we maintained our margin? Yes. Bang. Is our debt ratios right? Can we maintain our cash flow? Yes. Are we taking upfront payments? Yes. Processes, people, processes. Before you know it, 10, 20, person beast where it's worth $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. You go along to somebody and say, hey, we're looking to exit. And they go, great, we'll bolt that onto our practice where we've already got, 60 staff or turning over 6, 10 million or whatever. Right, do some DD with them. Bang, you sell it to them. Capital gains tax in New Zealand doesn't exist at the moment. Boomfa. You've got your cash. You haven't had to pay tax on the capital gain. You've made some money throughout that as well. You now have the lessons of what to do. You can apply it to a different type of business. You could do business coaching. You could start from the start again and do it again.
Yeah, because once you master something, you learn the principles, and then you can essentially, in your own head, you learn that hack that you can apply this to anything.
100%.
Capable of, and like, what better job satisfaction and reward than that? I'm always telling these guys to build a business as if you're going to sell it, i.e. run your business as if you're making your bank accounts look like you're applying for a mortgage, and how much maintenance, repeat maintenance, constant income every month can you get in there?
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff, because you never know where it's going to go.
And 1 in 2 business owners in New Zealand are over the age of 50. So, a lot of younger people coming through, those people, they're either going to sell their businesses, and a lot of them aren't going to have processes and whatnot. You might be able to mop them up. Unless you're building cash and putting it aside to give you a war chest, you're not going to be able to play that game. Yep. But if you clear down debt on your property, you might be able to leverage up your house again in the future and buy that business and then multiply it. Or you're going to soak up their clients because Ali, the electrician, goes, I'm over this. Yep. Like, who wants to take these clients? And I've actually seen that. I was practicing accounting in the Taranaki, and this client came in, prospect, and they had a sheet, and they were like, oh, my accountant wrote to me and basically said that they're dissolving their business, can't be bothered, and I need to find a new accountant. And they just let their clients go. Like, they probably didn't want to go through the sale process. Yeah, and we'll see more of that.
We're coming into it now, with all the boomers are going to start retiring and
cashing up and selling.
Because this is what I'm sort of... Because I'm on the older end of that tech generation, I'm nearly 40, so I'm just holding on by my coattails. Yeah. But I'm going, all these young guys are going to come through, the totally tech savvy, into the content, all that stuff again, and they're going to wipe the frigging floor with everyone. Yeah.
I did an interview.
It's scary.
Interview the other day of this kid, and he started cleaning cars at 13, and I call him a kid, but he's a weapon. He's like, it's unbelievable how much he knows. He's got 125 Google reviews at 18, signed a lease at 17, someone said to me, man, there's more than just him coming through. There's a lot of these dudes that are learning stuff early and they're into it.
Well, when I was a kid, you wanted to know something, you rifling through Encyclopedia Britannica,
putting Carter into the computer.
Yeah, now you can put into Chat GPT, like,
tell me
write me a bulletproof business plan. This is what I want to do. How do I start it? What are the steps? Done.
Yeah. And just going back to what to do with money, one of the things that I think tradies should do more of, and I hate using the word should and like telling people what to do, but this
Listen, you bastards.
Yeah, this is an ultimate hack. Build cash up so that you can say, no, I don't want to do your fucking work. And so few of them do that. And I know that's blunt, but what they do is they go, shit, we can't say no, and then you don't say no. So then you get bullied as a business owner. You do it at a shit margin. You say yes to them. You turn up whenever, and you end up resenting it. You want to stack cash so that when those people come along, you're like, I've seen that red flag before. Yeah. Mate, I would love to help you, but we're just not taking on clients like yourself at the moment. And go and speak to these guys. They'll be able to help you. Oh, okay. And you'll be blown away at how people are like, they're almost offended in New Zealand when you say, like, I don't want to service you. Yeah. But you can't do that when you're desperate. Your back's against the wall, when you're over leveraged, when you're repaying the boat, when you're repaying the Ranger, when you've got to pay a 20 grand PG because, you had a massive fight with a staff member.
Could not agree more. Yeah. Could not agree more. So, we encourage a lot of businesses to credit check new builders, clients that they're going to work for, because no one does it in our game. And as you say, desperation, they go, I'll take a risk on them. Whereas if you can cherry pick them, you're probably going to be working with people you want to work for. You've checked that the good payers, the good operators, so you can actually run it efficiently and make your margin. Yeah, could not agree more.
You just have braver conversations too. I'm going to need you to pay a deposit up front for this. Oh, well, no, we don't do that. Oh, well, my competitor down the road might go and have a yarn to them. I can't take the risk. You say, I can't take the risk. I've got staff to pay.
That's our policy.
Yeah, but if you're desperate, you're like, no, that's all good, mate. No, just fucking pay us when you can, eh?
Yeah. Well, I think it's chronic for people undervaluing their skill as well. Yeah. Probably across all industries. Yeah. And imposter syndrome when you first set up your business, you're undercharging, you can never turn down a job, all that sort of stuff.
And your guys, because what we have to think about too is the wealth has accumulated with the older people, right? So they've got the businesses, they've got the houses. What do wealthy people have?
We're in the game of taking it off them, aren't we?
100%.
Trying to run them into the ground.
Well, they've got less time and they've got wealth and they've got pain points. But what a lot of your guys' industry does, and my industry too, is the example I use is more for like a chippy, but they'll come around and look at a hole in a roof and they'll go, oh yeah, fucking piece of piss, mate. Like, it should take me about 15 minutes. Dude, like, I got a checkbook and cash. Don't tell me it's going to take 15 minutes. And
3 weeks.
Yeah. But like say, oh, hey, how long has it been like that for? We've probably left it about 4 weeks. Okay. I better get up there and just check the roof because there could actually be water leaking through here. I'm going to have to go up there. Do you know is there an access point? Yep. Okay. Hey, yeah, what's your carpet worth? Oh, I don't know, like 10 grand. Oh, have you got got insurance for that? And what about that? You probably shouldn't have those cords running by that hole, right? Because what's your TV worth? Oh, about 4 grand. Oh, okay, shit, yeah. You really need to get this sorted out, eh? Because the risk is that there's more damage up there. The water keeps coming through here. You're going to ruin your TV. You're going to have to do an insurance claim on your carpet. Look, we can sort this for you. Yep. Put a quote together for them and sell them their pain point. Don't go, fuck a piece of piss, mate. Bit of borg in there, brother. 15 minutes, sweet, mate. Yeah. Oh, yeah, what's your hourly rate? You ain't here for an hourly rate.
Yeah.
You're running a business. You're solving problems. You're helping people.
There's so many guys. We're going deep into like Sparky Tradie territory here, but there's so many guys. Every quote they do, they've got line items with pricing. Like, that's your IP. Like, why are you giving that out to everyone? And then the customer gets it, and that's their signal to dissect it and start going, what's this? What's this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, just give them a price with a clear description of what you're offering and what you're not.
I never go to my physio and be like, oh, mate, what's your hourly rate? Like, how do you justify charging me that? Yeah. Like, where's my breakdown? I'm like, oh, you're very experienced. You're solving a serious problem with my shoulder from falling on it at football. Same with the dentist. Like the doctor doesn't let you just like roll in there and be like, oh, I don't know, man. Like, you sure you got that right? I might, I'll figure. I might go home and have a look at Google before I like figure paying your invoice or whatnot.
Oh yeah,
those are not our clients, But that's the danger of not stacking that. No, I'm not going to work with you. Money is that you keep saying yes to them, you attract more, and you become that person. But eventually, you've got to put a circuit breaker in and be like, no, I'm going to go find the ideal clients that value what I do and are happy to pay these prices, and I'm going to get out of the undercut. What's your hourly rate thing? If people are saying like, "What's your hourly rate?" then you've got your first warning sign that they're not your people.
Yeah, it's horrible. Like, you can imagine at the minute, because it's not like all unicorns and rainbows at the minute. People are undercutting like crazy, desperate for work, but it drives the whole game down. It undervalues what every electrician does in New Zealand. You know what I mean? It's bloody terrible.
Like, a good example is you don't go into Z on the way to taking that finance boat out on the road, or you've used your tax money for that, but you don't go in there and go, oi, $8 for a bag of ice. Get fucked. Yeah. That's water. That's water, man. I could have frozen. Yeah, but you didn't freeze it yesterday and cube it up, you dickhead. You are going to pay $8 for it.
Yeah,
so
totally.
It's worth $8 because it's solving a problem for you, and it's going to cool the beers down, or it is going to, keep the bait cold or whatever. That's why you pay $8. It's business is solving a problem. It's not an hourly thing, but we get taught that, you get into your first job out of school or whatnot, and it's like, okay, what do you get paid per hour? So then we carry that methodology on into business, but that's not it. So you want to try and solve big, painful problems for people that have got big wallets, and if you do that and they value you, then it's up to the market to decide whether you're worth that or not.
Well, that's exactly what inventors have been doing for ages in the physical realm of a product. You're just taking that concept to a more abstract service realm, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Same bloody thing. Just, again, taking a bit of a turn. What's this bloody boys get paid all about, eh?
Yeah, it's probably plateaued a little bit and isn't doing too much at the moment. But me and my mates were into horse racing at school. And one of them set up a Facebook group so that we could talk to each other about sort of what your bet of the weekend was. Before there were messenger chats and things like that, and it just sort of grew. And as I quit my job and got out into business, we started organising a few meetups and, right, who wants to go to Wellington, and we'll go to the races there, and then like, hey, let's go to the Karaka Millions in Auckland. And we just sort of got deeper and deeper into the racing industry, and have just cool. run a bit of amok. But again, one of those things where we've been able to learn a lot of things and then put that back into the business side of things as well. Yeah, no, bloody cool, because I sort of, when I was doing a bit of due diligence on you, I was like, what the hell's this? I was like, so this guy's a chartered accountant and a gambling addict. That's a hell of a conversation. Yeah, I mean, I don't normally put those two words there, but you could you could argue. It's funny, because like accountants are some accountants will come and speak to them. They're like, mate, I love having a beer. We can't tell anyone. Like they're either real into it or they're real risk averse.
All over the internet.
Yeah. But really, it's a community of people who enjoy getting to the races and going with your old man and stuff. And it's just sort of missed a generation in New Zealand. But obviously there's punting involved in it, but hopefully people are doing that like anything to a safe manner. But really it was more of a community and like-minded people and having a
social
bit of fun.
Aspect.
And just really blew out of control for a couple of years there.
Because I saw some of the numbers you were playing with once you'd syndicate it all together and stuff, and it was like, Jesus.
We've done some gnarly big punters clubs and things where people kick in a 20 or a 25 and sort of follow the bets along. So
I had. Did you ever see Matt Jordan, SPM?
Yes.
He's been one of my mates for like 15 years, so he came on the week and sort of let us behind the curtain a bit on all the old online streaming gambling and Malta-based casinos and all that shit. And he's like, mate, it's
a different world,
Yeah, they're running the line. It's corrupt as hell.
I haven't really dived into. I've never played an online casino, and like for me, I look at it and go, there's just too much risk there. For me, like that's too accessible, and not my cup of tea. But.
No, gambling's advice I've never had. Luckily, I've certainly, you could say I've been guilty of drinking a bit too much terps at points. But gambling's never been on the cards for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Cool, man. Well, I think we'll wind it up there, unless you've got any messages that you're just dying to get out there.
No, I guess just, for whoever's listening, or especially if you are in that trade space, like we're off the bottom, I think, and we're going to go back into money flowing back through the economy, and just be deliberate around the business that you do want, and actually think about that and sit down with your partner, your business partner, your wife, your husband, like whatever, and just go, what do we want life to look like? And so many answers become clear once you do that. And often with the business planning we do with clients, we can remove a distraction very quickly. We go back to the plan, but like, that's not part of that. Why are we looking at that? It turns out the competitor was doing it, or it's a shiny object, or it looks like a quick win, and we go, were we looking for quick wins on the plan? No, we weren't. Okay, let's avoid it. So I think because the construction industry goes in like booms and busts, it's very easy just to like build our business or let our business be dictated to us by what's happening in the economy. But the good businesses, they keep pushing, and they keep building their systems and improving technology and maintaining margins and educating themselves and upskilling their own mindset, keeping healthy, stacking some cash aside, like getting ready for the next crisis. But we haven't really had to do that through such a frothy time. Now we've been given a massive hiding. But don't forget that through this hiding, we get these lessons, and we might have some down years, we might have some less profitable years, we might have been doing work for someone who's been liquidated, but it teaches us something, and we get to take these lessons through to the good years and just remind yourself not to get too complacent as things do start to get better, because all we do is we repeat the cycle again. But you want to make sure, as hard as it has been, you've learned something from it, and you can take it into these good times to prepare for the bad times, and then the bad times aren't as hard, and then you're not one of these people that turn up on social media saying the industry's cooked and the country's fucked.
It's the government.
Yeah, all of that stuff. And on that. It is so easy to see all of that, and then the algorithm will feed you more of that. But the other thing,
you set in a trend with what you're actually taking in.
Yes, and so then it's and you see more. So one thing that, like I said before, I walk down the street and I think, none of these are clients. I'm like, is that a me problem or them problem? That's a me problem. I could knock on the door, but I haven't. So that's a me problem. It's not the government's fault. It's not it's not social media's not putting the ad in front of them. I got to go and tell them. So be careful, like what the media is feeding you and what you're consuming, because that's probably what you're going to plant into your head. And you can't have like a scarce mind in business, because you'll just let whatever's happening in the economy happen to you, and that will be your story. So you want to reset that and make sure you're just pushing and just rowing, no matter what the conditions are out there.
Yeah. Well, whether you've had a good time or a bad time recently, you've survived. So now's the time to step on the gas and clean up.
Yeah, love it.
Really,
I'm really excited for the years that we've got ahead, and so many young tradies coming through and whatnot, learning lessons through a tough time. Like arguably, a lot of people don't learn stuff through.
This is what I want to hear. We get so much negativity recently. This is good.
But you just think that the wealthy have got all the cash, they're going to want their time back. We're valuing convenience more. Electricians, plumbing. Like I was looking the other day, I was like, maybe I should buy into a plumbing or an electrician company and advise them, plus take a stake in it, help them grow it. Yep. Because I can't see a shortage of work in that space. There's always shit that needs to be fixed. The world's always evolving. There's technology. Like these microphones. All of this stuff wasn't that fancy or fashionable that many years ago, but now people are plumbing in podcast studios, and that will continue to happen. And you've got to go to the people who want to spend the money, and just don't wait for them to come to you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, love it, mate. And I'm pretty sure you'll probably get a few people getting in touch. So if they do want to, where are they coming to find you? Yeah,
if you want to learn more about financial literacy, keep the change, you got to go back to episode 1. There's 500 to get through.
Good bit of content.
You got a while to go. Next Advisory, same thing. There's the What's Next podcast, the Keep the Change podcast, and you can get in touch, find Next Advisory, you'll get retargeted and whatnot with our marketing systems. But we also run workshops every couple of months. So last year we were doing cashflow planning, business, how to increase your income, sorts of things like that. You don't even need to be a client. You can just pay $100, come along to those. We charge for them now so that people pay and pay attention. Otherwise they sign up, oh, hey, mate, didn't get the link.
Don't turn up.
And so we've kind of, there's enough free content for people. You can play in there if you want. You can come to some stuff where we had a mental performance coach at the start of the year, 140 people to that, personal branding, marketing, all these sorts of things. We're seeing tradies turn up to these things. So, come and get involved in our world. If we can't help you, we'll give you money back. I don't care. We've got enough cash ourselves. We're doing all right. We'll get ours. Not here to try and, fucking convert everyone into a client. Don't need that. I can't do it. Don't have enough scale to be able to do that. So cool. I just want to see people learning and taking action, having a better life, having a better business, and achieving the things that they want to, because business is risky and it's hard. And you got to look after yourself. And so if you can make it better by a bit of education, then give yourself every chance.
Yeah. Well, no, I think it's a great thing you're doing, mate. It's been illuminating for me sat here, so hopefully it was for everyone listening. Thank you very much.
No problem.
All right. Cheers.